What's up, VC? My name's Kieran. If you're tuning in for the first time, channel name Needle Groove. Needle Groove Vinyl on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I recently went on a vacation trip and hit up a lot of record stores. So this is the rundown. I've been back for about a week and a half. I woke up not feeling amazing this morning, but wanted to get this done because I know that if I don't do it now, it might never happen. So I was gone for 3 weeks. I went for my cousin's wedding to San Diego, but had a layover in Chicago and also went to LA for a few days. So I was gone for 3 weeks and I hit a total of 30 record stores. I hit 30 different record stores. I did go to a few a couple times. So let's get into it. Sunday morning here. Snowing, winter, back in Montreal. I have listened to some of these, definitely not all. It's been very busy since I got back, but I'm enjoying what I have listened to. And yeah, so this is gonna be more about my experience with the shops. I might break this into separate videos, probably film it all at once here, but we'll see. And then I may interlay some photos, see how motivated I am. Okay, so first stop, Chicago. Unfortunately, we had a layover in Chicago that was quite lengthy. Our flights had got changed. Anyways, we had about several hours to kill. So it was also about minus 20 Celsius. It was like during the cold front. January, brutal, not really a time you want to walk around Chicago. I've never been, I've always wanted to go. Don't really consider that I've been to Chicago because we didn't see much. So what is cool about Chicago, unlike Montreal, the train line, subway line goes straight to and from the airport. So super easy, got on the blue line and had mapped out kind of what shops. Obviously, number one on my list was Dusty Groove. Wanted to go to Dusty Groove. So guess what? Right off the blue line, super easy. Maybe, I think it was like a block and a half from getting out of the train. So first we went for lunch. Found a great ramen spot that I just researched on online, obviously, on the plane. And incredible ramen, which was perfect for, guess what, minus 20. Yeah, so Dusty Groove, very excited. Haven't bought many records from them. Typically now I'll buy new records from Dusty Groove online. They have really good prices, stuff. They get a lot of imports in, stuff like that. I had actually ordered the pre-order of the Sahib Shahab record, which was not in yet, but I did get that shipped to California, so I brought that back with me. Dusty Groove, I probably first bought a record from them almost 10 years ago. Typically don't buy used from them much because it just sells so fast, but I was excited to kind of see what the shop was about. I didn't have high expectations. I've heard it's picked over. I walk in, really nice shop, very clean, nice lighting, welcoming staff, said hi, which is always nice. I walk down, the wall is kind of, instead of like, imagine a wall like this behind me with lots of records, it's kind of like behind the cash, which is very long, the like behind the counter area. And it's just like a horizontal row of records. So I walk down, nothing that caught my eye of like, oh, I absolutely need that or super excited. Definitely a lot of Blue Note, what there was in terms of rare jazz with Blue Note records. Not really, I'm not a big budget Blue Note collector. If you were, you might have, wanted to indulge in some stuff. So nothing that I really needed to see behind the counter. I went through the jazz section, pretty small, really little nook in the front of the store. I would say, like, if you were starting off a jazz collection, there maybe would have been a few things I would have recommended to get. There was nothing that on that day, for sure, they get good stuff in regularly, I'm sure, but it gets purchased and picked over pretty quickly. What else can I say? Prices were in the stuff where I was like, oh, this is a nice, interesting title. For someone, it was fair, like on the high end, I would say, not like deals, but not crazy either. So yeah, I was also being very picky because I knew I was going to go to tons of shops in California and it was really cold. I had a heavy backpack on. I didn't really want to carry a record with me unless it was something I really wanted. And there was nothing that even tempted me at Dusty Groove. Same subway exit, so just the other way, few blocks the other side, was Signal Records, which I had heard of, and was very small, curated shop, and one of, like, I would, if I had to say, like, compare it to any other store that I've been to, it is Cosmos Records in Toronto. Just in terms of the quality of titles, small selection, relative, like, they had a lot of records, a lot of good records, but it wasn't tons of filler like a huge jazz section. Everything was good in there. A lot of Brazilian stuff as well. They have 2 locations. Both locations were pretty stacked. If I had wanted to splurge, there were a couple things, but nothing where I was like, oh my God, I've wanted this for so long. There was a Bobby Timmons record, but the condition was maybe like a VG, and I was being very selective. But yeah, wow, I haven't seen that many rare records in one place like that, and the prices were expensive, like you'd expect, but a lot of titles that I had too on the wall, some Pharoah Sanders, some Joe Henderson, different things. I'll see if I can put some pictures in here. So we decided I looked at the map and I was like, okay, the other Signal Records location is also near this blue line, but at a different stop. I was able to convince my girlfriend that, okay, we'll go to one more stop and then head back to the airport. Similar thing. The second shop that I went to, it was a little bit bigger, I would say, and a similar vibe. Brazilian, rare jazz, like really nice stuff on the walls, but that commands the prices. So Dusty Groove and Signal in Chicago, would have liked to go to more stores, but that was what I was able to do. 2 shops that I would definitely recommend anyone to go to. Definitely if you're into like big ticket items, Signal, I'm sure they sell online as well, but that would be a great spot for you. So that was Chicago. Then we headed to San Diego. First store I went to in San Diego is Vinyl Junkies. Last time I was at Vinyl Junkies in 2022 in San Diego, I left with like a nice little stack of used jazz. So I was very excited. Also, what's unique about this shop is you walk in and there's the like main shop area, and then you go through the back, there's like you go down and there's a little like outside couch chair sitting area, and then you go down into what they call the Digger's Den, which is where all the jazz is. And it's just one of the most unique kind of cool environments. It's like a little private little nook that you go into the jazz section. And last time, tons of used stuff. I was very disappointed this time, just because in the jazz section, I think there were a total of maybe 5 used jazz records. Could have been a bit more, but it was 95% more new, or maybe even more. They did have a couple jazz records up on their wall above, but it was really like almost nothing. They did have like a bargain section, so I guess they only put good stuff in the jazz section, and they didn't have much of it right now. Bargain stuff is, I looked through it. I actually went back there a second time just we had time, like later in the trip, check the new arrivals, see if anything had come in. Wasn't able to find anything, unfortunately. And I asked the guy, I was like, oh, what happened? Last time I was here, not that long ago, a year and a half, there was tons of used jazz, but I guess it just got picked over and it's really dry, nothing doing. But in amazing shop environment, prices are fair from what I could see and remember. So definitely Vinyl Junkies was cool. That same day, stopped into Flimsy's Records, wasn't familiar with, not a shop I would recommend for someone if your tastes are in line with mine, like jazz, funk, soul, Latin, Brazilian, reggae. Definitely kind of like a dark, more grungy shop. Felt like more of a rock, metal, punk type thing. I don't know for those genres what the prices are like or anything like that, but was definitely not the opposite vibe or energy of Vinyl Junkies. Then I went into M Theory, which I think I had been to in 2017, my first trip to San Diego. I don't know if I went last time. They did move locations. I asked the guy, I was like, I feel like I've been here, but this doesn't feel familiar. And M Theory, not a huge amount of selection, but it's a place that you could find some records. The guy was really nice in there. I asked, is there any like rare records that are not up on the wall? And I looked through. There was a couple interesting things, nothing I needed. Not a ton. There was a few records. I can't remember, what did I say? I think there was like a Black Saint, by Keita Carroll in the used jazz section. There was a few things that like I had that would have been interesting to buy, that you don't see often. There was a Gary Bartz I've Known Rivers up on the wall for $300, which seemed quite aggressive in terms of pricing, but I wouldn't say that was their like consistent pricing approach for all their records, but still seems strange to me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done 6 stores and I've bought no records so far. Next, this is all the same day: Vinyl Junkies, Flimsies, M Theory, and then Folk Arts, which is a pretty well-known store for people outside of San Diego. Even Folk Arts and Rare Records also had been there 2017, 2022. They did move locations. The old location, they still have a lot of stuff like in shelves like this, but not like before. Like it's before the jazz section, which is huge, was mostly all on shelves and you had to pick it out from the side to see all the records. Now the jazz section is out. Everything's in like cardboard boxes. It's a cool shop. Didn't find anything the first time. I did go back there 3 times, I think. I did buy one super cheap record, which I'll show. What will I say about Folk Art? So it seemed weird. It's like, if you were starting a jazz collection, great place to go. You could get lots of things between $5 and $20. Some of the prices for some of the condition kind of rough in the jazz section. What I found, not a lot of rare records, and I was kind of surprised. On the wall, and they had a little box of rare records. I was like, this is weird, because I'm like, there's so many records here that it's like, do they really sell all their rare records or more valuable records? And then what I found out from Steve, who I will talk about next, is that they opened up a vinyl bar lounge not too far away in North Park, where they have a record store in the back called Part-Time Lover is the name of this thing. Only opens at 4 p.m., which is extremely annoying for timing wise, with traffic, having to go there in rush hour, and to just like, I was doing stuff during the day, and then in the evening I was spending time with family that I was there with, so it was just a bit harder to get to, but I did end up getting there, and I'll talk about it. So turns out all their rare records mostly are at this Part-Time Lover place, which make Folk Art, it kind of dilutes the pool of quality at Folk Arts. Still a big kind of open, wide open store, very like surface area wise, one of the biggest stores. Then Steve Cater. So still now I've been to 7 stores, have bought 0 records. Not stressing. I knew there was many stores to come. Steve, I knew always has quality. So Steve is a record collector / dealer. Someone in the VC had hooked me up or recommended I reach out to him when I was first going to San Diego in 2017. And I got some great stuff from him. I reached back out in 2022, got even better stuff from him. And then so this time was excited knowing that he would have some good stuff. I would say my haul from him this time was good. Not as good as the time before, though. Like, he had quality stuff, but it wasn't like necessarily the titles that I was really looking for. But his stuff's in good shape. Prices are fair. Like, compared to any of the record stores I went to, best bet by far in terms of curated selection, price, quality, combination. Not to mention chill environment. You just go meet up with him, dig his crates, and just a really nice guy and a wealth of knowledge, to be honest. It's kind of like you have a private guide is he's talking about the music, whereas when you're in a record store, if you don't know something, it's on your own. No one's like kind of recommending stuff to you generally anymore. So what did I get from Steve? I can share. Oh, first I'll share what I grabbed at Folk Arts the third time. So this is Charles Owens, the Two Quartets on Discovery. Charles Owens, the name I was familiar with. I was like, where do I know his name from? Tenor player. He did play on The Skipper and I think a couple other black jazz records. And this is a nice record. I sampled it in the store and it drew me in enough for, I think it was like a $6 or $7 price tag. Also of note, this is from like late 70s. I won't have time to talk. I'll kind of just show these records because it's already 15 minutes in. But I will say Discovery, I guess, is probably a West Coast or LA based label. I didn't look at where it's based. Yeah, Los Angeles, California, because I see these once in a while, Discovery records here in Montreal, but every shop had many Discovery records. There was a few I was kind of tempted by, but being selective, you know, wasn't buying a lot of like the $5 to $15 stuff that I might find somewhere else. There was some Claire Fisher. I have a few Discovery records that are like Poncho Sanchez, Claire Fisher, kind of Latin vibes, but there was a bunch of different music, I guess, on the label. So yeah, looking forward to checking this one out. I'll show you what I grabbed from Steve Cater, Hugh Masekela, Home is Where the Music Is. This is actually, well, I did listen to this, incredible, or I've listened to one of the records. This is a double LP from the early 70s on Blue Thumb and Chisa Records. I saw this last time I was there, I think at Beatbox, and funny enough, after I bought this, I did see it again at Beatbox. This one was a bit more expensive, but the cover way cleaner. Really nice. You'll see Hugh Masekela is kind of a theme here. I grabbed this Roy Ayers record. I wish I had grabbed this years ago when it was when it was definitely much cheaper. One of the Roy Ayers that I still wanted that I was missing. Pretty much the last one, I think, other than maybe his first. A Tear to a Smile. And I grabbed this. I already have a copy of this, but my cover has a little bit of water damage and you just never see this record. Pat Martino, A Psychedelic Excursion Through the Magical Mysteries of the Quran. Bayina is the title, The Clear Evidence. Incredible record on Prestige. If you don't know this, check it out. Cheap one that I've only ever seen maybe once or twice, but always kind of beat up, so I grabbed it. I actually did see another copy of this that wasn't priced, but that was like in the shrink, super clean. Mizell Brothers, I think Gary Bartz is on here. Whole slew of other musicians. Patrice Rushen, Alphonse Mouzon. Not the best of his Mizell Brothers stuff, but still some enjoyable cuts on there. Okay, so that's, oh no, there's something missing there. The big ticket item I got from Steve is a record that was completely unfamiliar with, which don't always do, but when you're traveling, it's fun. I was trying to look for stuff that was different, stuff I'm not likely to find in Montreal, and came across this, had no idea what it was, checked it out. It's a funk record from the Bay Area called The Perfect Circle. What drew me in sampling it was really the ballads, but I've listened to it and it is a killer record. The funky tracks as well as the ballads. So this is what the label's called Inner City, Not That Inner City. And it's an awesome label design. So this is definitely a rare one that I was not familiar with and super happy to find. That was my little splurge from Steve. The rest were all kind of some cheaper titles. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, so a few days later, I was able to go to Standards. Standards is in Vista, so a bit kind of north, and wasn't expecting much from what I could like see on Instagram. Kind of, you know, looked more like a rock shop. Showed up there, it opened at 11, showed up at 11:30. There was a sign that said like, oh, usually 15 to 30 minutes late. It was like 11:35, still nobody there. I was with my uncle actually, so like, okay, walk around the block, see, walked around the main strip of Vista, and then came back. He still wasn't there. It was like 12 at this point. So I was like, okay, guess we're gonna head out, go back and pick up the ladies. And then I see someone walking down the street and he comes, so give him a chance, open up the shop, and we go in, and I'm with my uncle who, he's in his 70s, and right away he puts on like metal blasting, screaming. I was like, whoa, okay, very nice. Welcome to the shop, reading your audience. But anyway, I was like, oh God, how long my uncle's gonna last? Small shop, jazz was maybe like this much. Took a look around the wall, mostly rock. I did find, there was surprisingly a Canadian jazz record there that I have, but if I would have maybe grabbed it, but I knew I was like trying to be selective with how many records I could bring back. And I was like, this will be a fun record for someone to find. But what I did grab from there is this, which I actually have a copy already waiting for me in Michigan for the past year, but it was very cheap. So I grabbed this, and I also grabbed a folk record. Dave Van Ronk Sings. This is volume 2. This is like I think a 70s reissue, but it's just like in shrink, beautiful. And I love Dave Van Ronk. I know I don't talk or show a lot of folk records, but my dad loved Dave Van Ronk and used to listen to a lot as a kid. So I have a few of his records, and this one intrigued me. And then I was ready to leave, and I looked one last kind of glance at the walls, because sometimes I look quickly when I enter a store and I miss something, and then this caught my eye, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I maybe added that to my want list somewhere. I posted it at some point. This reggae record, Albert Griffiths and the Gladiators, Country Living. This is from 1985 on Heartbeat Records. It's an American pressing, but it says Jacket, made in Canada. So happy to find that, and glad I didn't miss it. So that was Standards. So that's the first store that I bought something at in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Took 8 stores to find a record. The next day I went to Spin Records, which is in Carlsbad. Small, very packed, mostly new, almost no used jazz really or anything that I could find. I was like, oh, is there new arrivals, after I'd kind of walked around the store, and they were like in some boxes kind of in the back on the floor with not much space to bend down. There was a couple of those, some mini Ripperton records. There was actually a Tone Poet that I don't have that I wanted, Art Blakey, Roots and Herbs, used. But Tone Poets are heavy, and I was like, this is not the record I need to be buying to bring back when I say I'm looking for stuff that is, different and that I wouldn't usually find. It didn't seem to make sense to grab that, even though the price was very fair. I did buy for fun one cassette, hip-hop cassette, a new hip-hop cassette, which I don't generally do, but I was like, okay, I feel like I want to buy something, and it was a good price. It was on sale. Coda the Friend. Then I went to Luz Records, which is in Encinitas. I think Luz Records probably used to be a good place for records, but not anymore, not for me. Maybe they get probably also more of like a rock shop, seems to be the standard at Standards. Spin and Luz, definitely more of like a rock vibe. Nothing there. Next I went to Beatbox. So Beatbox in Barrio Logan, so just near downtown, just south, near the Coronado Bridge. And I have been there both trips before. Very small shop, very curated, and a lot of jazz, definitely like kind of more of like a hip hop, the owner, probably around my age, hip hop DJ. So all the genres that I love, definitely still some rock, but Latin, reggae, gospel, soul, jazz, like very curated. Beatbox is definitely with Folk Arts, the kind of top shop in the San Diego area. I don't know when it's been open since, but I was there as early as 2017. What did I grab? Some stuff that I did not know at all. This Latin record on Discos Latin Internacional. Mazacote Chucandu. He was playing this in the shop and it sounded absolutely killer. So I grabbed that. And then this one, which he was also playing in the shop and sounded good. And I listened to it quickly the other day and it's just maybe not my thing. And it was priced on the high end because it's Italian, and I'll have to listen to it some more. Maybe it just was the day, but maybe not my thing. Maybe it was a bit of an impulse buy because I knew Beatbox has good stuff and I wanted to buy stuff. I hadn't found much, so it was kind of just like at last minute I was like, oh, I'll just grab that one too. This is Le Chacachas Discoteca Sudamericana. There's definitely some funky stuff on here, but I don't know that it's really my thing, but I will give it several more spins to see. I did head back there like a week later or a week and a half later, and I grabbed some more stuff, had a bit more time. So this is the LeBron Brothers, Brooklyn Bums on Cotique. Really good record. Definitely looking for more LeBron Brothers stuff on Cotique. And I grabbed this gospel record, the Henry Jackson Company, on Gospel Truth. This one has some very known players on it actually. There's David Walker, Wilton Felder, Joe Sample. Really dope gospel record on Gospel Truth. So that is Beatbox. Also Bernie, the owner, really nice guy. Happy to recommend stuff. Very small, like behind the cash, crazy rare records. A few I wanted, but just, on the high end of prices that I wasn't, I wanted to spread my budget out across many shops instead of going all in. Lastly, in San Diego, before we get, is Part-Time Lover. So this is the vinyl kind of lounge I was telling you about, or bar, hi-fi lounge, and very small. One of the coolest vibes you'll ever see in a record store. Just like going through the lounge, the back, it has like a ladder that goes around the whole shop. There's records on the walls, very small little sections, and then behind they have like a little counter with a wall, and it's all accessible in the wall. There's more jazz, which I noticed after I'd been there for a while, and it's like divided by label, which is really cool. So I did find a couple things in there. Very unique in the way that it's organized compared to most stores, which would typically be just like alphabetical, but they had like within the jazz section, I can't remember what the different titles were, but like different categories that they kind of put records into, and then all by label. There was no just like main jazz section. And up on the walls, tons of rare Blue Notes in the expensive range, from 1500 series to 400 series. If you were willing to ball out, that would be a place to do it. I did find this, a record that had been recommended to me not too long ago, Charlie Mariano on Atlantic, Mirror, Mirror, Mirror. So I grabbed that, and then I did grab this as well. Just kind of like a straight ahead hard bop record. Harold Mayburn, Raking and Scraping on Prestige, Blue Mitchell, George Coleman, Bill Lee, and Hugh Walker. So I did also go to Record City, cool little shop in terms of the interior and how it's set up, but no jazz, basically, mostly rock. Didn't seem to have a ton of stuff, which was in the Point Loma area, I believe, of San Diego. And then I went to Stereo Unlimited, shop number 15, if you're counting Steve. Stereo Unlimited is like a high-end hi-fi store, and unfortunately there had been flooding while I was there a week or so earlier, and they had clearly been affected by the flood. So it's like a hi-fi store with lots of different rooms, I guess, with different setups of different equipment, and a lot of them were empty with fans going, trying to dry out. And then the rooms that did have stuff were just like packed. They had to like pack everything. So sad situation. And I was like, I go in and they seemed busy chatting with the gentleman. I was like, I heard there were maybe some records here. And then so the guy showed me, very nice, took me to the back, where they did have 2 separate kind of record rooms. I love when it's like a separate room, kind of just like a very intimate, warm feeling, kind of like a library feel. And one room was classical and rock, and one was almost all jazz. Definitely a lot of new, but it was separated used and new. They had a lot of used jazz. I didn't find anything there, but there's definitely some nice records there, all in the like kind of cheaper end, I would say. And then they did have a nice little setup there that sounded really good to sample records, not with headphones, but just some speakers. You could put some music on in the room, which was really appreciated. And then when I was leaving, I was like, there's got to be some nicer records. So I asked, I was like, oh, do you have any, like, is there like a section or rare record, just more expensive stuff? And he's like, oh, I don't know, I guess it was the owner or someone, I don't remember what his name. He's like, oh yeah, they're in his office, but you can only deal with him. I was like, oh, okay. So I just left. I guess he wasn't around. So I guess they do have some, maybe, probably I would assume they're going to be the Blue Notes, the Prestige, kind of the 50s, early 60s stuff, hidden away, but I'm just only assuming. So that does it for San Diego, and I'll probably cut this video here and restart with Los Angeles. So there you go. There's half of my trip, and tune in for part 2. Peace.